Many years ago, in the quiet village of Awa, lived a young girl named Tani, the daughter of a hardworking farmer. Tani was different from the other girls because she was gentle and sharp, and even though her family had little, she carried herself with grace. Her best friend from those days was Sadi, and the two of them were always seen together, fetching water from the stream, weaving each other's hair, and sharing roasted maize by the roadside. They promised each other that no matter where life carried them, they would remain like sisters. Many years later, fate lifted Tani's life in a way that amazed everyone. After leaving the village to study in the city, she met Michael, a young man from a wealthy family who had studied abroad and returned to set up a business. He was tall, handsome, and kind, and even though many women chased him, his heart settled on Tani because he said her laughter felt like home and her smile reminded him of what peace looked like. Their love matured quickly and soon they got married. Now, they lived in a big house that looked like the dreams people had at night but never thought would come true. Michael was not only rich but also generous, and he spoiled Tani with trips, jewelry, and every comfort money could buy. Yet, what made her happiest was not the wealth, but the way he looked at her as if she was the only woman alive. People who saw them often said, "This couple is blessed. Their love is like a movie." And just as in the old days, Sadi was still by Tani's side. She moved to the city too, and she never allowed distance to break their friendship. She was at Tani's house almost every weekend, playing with her children, helping Tani choose dresses, and sitting at the dinner table as if she belonged there. She called Michael brother, while she called Tani sister. To the outside world, Sadi looked like the perfect friend. She was loyal and supportive and celebrated her best friend's happiness as if it were her own. But deep inside her heart, thorns were growing because every time she saw Michael pull Tani into his arms, every time she heard them laugh together in the kitchen, and every time she walked through their big house, a small voice would whisper to her, "This should have been your life. Why her? Why not you?" She tried to silence this voice with smiles and laughter, but it kept growing. It spoke in the morning when she woke in her small apartment. It screamed in her ears when she sat alone at night, and it pressed hard against her chest whenever she looked at Tani's diamond ring or the way Michael kissed his wife's forehead tenderly. One evening, as she sat alone in her room, Sadi whispered into the dark, "She has everything and I have nothing. She has everything and I have nothing. If I cannot have what she has, maybe I can at least take it away." And from that moment, the best friend who once promised loyalty began to turn into something else, carrying a heart full of jealousy and a plan that would one day threaten the life of the very man she called brother. Now, Michael's birthday was drawing near and the house was already filled with excitement. Tani wanted it to be special because she loved celebrating him, and she had been thinking of booking a private dinner at a 5-star hotel. One Saturday morning, she sat in the living room with Sadi, flipping through her phone and laughing as she scrolled through birthday ideas. Suddenly, she spoke up. "I am thinking of hiring a band. Michael loves live music, or maybe a private dinner for just close friends." Sadi smiled and suggested, "Or you could let me handle it this year. You've done everything for him since the day you got married. Leave this one to me. Let me surprise him like a brother deserves." Tani looked surprised. "Sadi, you don't have to. You've done enough already. You are always there for us." Sadi placed her hand over Tani's hands and squeezed it. "That's exactly why I love to help. Sister, you know I love you both. Let me bake him a cake myself. You always buy from those expensive bakeries. But what is more special than something handmade by family?" Tani's heart softened. She had trusted Sadi all her life, from their days as little girls in Awa to now as grown women in the city. If Sadi wanted to make a cake, it was only love. So she smiled and said, Alright then, you bake the cake, but please, nothing too complicated. Sadi laughed. Don't worry, sister. Trust me. The days flew quickly, and on the morning of the birthday, the house was decorated with golden balloons and the dining table was covered with trays of food. Friends and family filled the living room, and Michael looked handsome in his dark blue suit, holding Tani's hand as they moved around greeting people. Sadi arrived last, carrying a large box carefully in her arms. "Happy birthday, brother Michael," she shouted, smiling as she walked in. Michael hugged her warmly. "Sadi, my sister, you didn't have to go through so much trouble." Sadi smiled and set the box down on the table. "Of course I had to. This cake is special. I made it with my own hands, only for you." Tani hugged her. "You see, didn't I tell you, Michael? Sadi is truly family." Guests clapped as the cake was placed at the center of the room. It was really beautiful. It had white icing with golden designs, shining candles on top, and "Happy Birthday, Michael" written boldly across it. Everyone gathered around as Michael held the knife. "Make a wish, brother," Sadi shouted. Michael laughed. "What else could I wish for? I already have everything I need. My wife, my family, my friends." He cut the cake as people cheered. Then he took the first slice and put it into his mouth. For a moment, everything seemed normal. Tani kissed his cheek and everyone clapped. But suddenly, Michael shook his head. He coughed once, then again, harder this time, and his face twisted in pain. "Michael, are you okay?" Tani frowned. He staggered, held his throat, and coughed violently as his body shook. Guests gasped in horror. Some dropped their plates and screamed. "Call an ambulance," someone shouted. Michael's face turned pale and sweat covered his forehead. He struggled to breathe, but he couldn't. Tani held him and cried uncontrollably. "Stay with me, Michael. Please don't leave me." Sadi stood at the back of the crowd with her hand over her mouth and her eyes wide in fake shock. "Oh my God, what is happening?" Yet, deep in her chest, a cold satisfaction danced. Within minutes, paramedics rushed into the house and lifted Michael onto a stretcher. Tani clung to his hands as they carried him out. "Don't let him die, please, don't let him die," she cried. Sadi followed them out, holding Tani's shoulders and pretending to comfort her. "He will be fine, sister, he will be fine." But she was rejoicing inside. At the hospital, Tani waited in the reception area. Michael was in the emergency room and she had not stopped praying since they wheeled him in. "Oh God, please save him." Sadi sat beside her, rubbing her back and consoling her. "Sister, don't cry too much. Michael is strong. He will be fine." But Tani shook her head. "You didn't see his face, Sadi. He couldn't breathe. He looked at me like he was leaving. I can't lose him." Sadi hugged her tightly. "You would not lose him, I promise." And at that moment, she felt fear. She had not expected the reaction to be so fast and dramatic. For a second, she wondered if she had gone too far, but then she silenced the thoughts. If he dies, he dies. If he lives, he will still suffer. Hours later, a doctor finally came out. "Madam Tani." Tani jumped up. "Yes, how is he? Is he alive?" The doctor nodded slowly. "He's stable now, but it was close, very close. We had to flush his system. The substance he swallowed was too much. If you had come even a few minutes later, he would not have made it." Tani gasped. "Substance? You mean poison?" The doctor hesitated and nodded. "It was not ordinary food poisoning. We will run more tests, but this looked deliberate. Someone wanted him dead." The words struck like thunder. Tani staggered and held onto the chair. Sadi quickly rushed to her side, pretending to be shocked. "Deliberate?" she echoed. "Doctor, are you saying someone tried to poison Michael?" "Yes," the doctor said, "and I suggest you both think carefully about what he ate and who gave it to him." When Michael was finally moved into a ward, Tani sat by his bedside holding his weak hand. His eyes were closed and his breathing was still shallow. She whispered softly, "You promised me forever, Michael. You promised me. Don't let this be the end." Sadi stood at the foot of the bed watching quietly. That evening, as guests who had followed them to the hospital began to leave one by one woman pulled Tani aside. It was her cousin's friend who had been at the party. She leaned close and whispered, "Tani, I don't want to cause trouble, but I noticed something strange. When Michael took that cake, I noticed Sadi's eyes. She looked nervous, and when he began to cough, she did not rush forward like the rest of us. She just stood there almost frozen." Tani frowned. "Are you sure?" The woman nodded quickly. "Yes, I saw it clearly. Be careful." Another guest later told her something similar. "I saw Sadi earlier before the cake was cut. She was on the phone pacing outside. She looked uneasy." By the time night fell, Tani's mind was in chaos. She sat alone in the ward. Her eyes were on Michael, but her thoughts were elsewhere. She replayed old moments of Sadi teasing her about Michael being too perfect for her. Her chest tightened. Could Sadi, her best friend, her sister of many years, truly be the one who wanted her husband dead? Just then, Sadi walked back into the room carrying a bowl of pepper soup. "Sister, take something. You haven't eaten all day." Tani took the plate slowly and forced a smile. "Thank you, Sadi. You've been so helpful." But her eyes lingered on her friend's face longer than usual, searching, questioning, and doubting. She said nothing, but inside her heart, a storm was gathering. That night, when Sadi finally left, Tani leaned close to Michael's ear and whispered, "I will find out who did this to you. Even if it breaks me, even if it is someone I love, I will find out." Weeks after the terrible night, Michael slowly regained his strength. Tani never left his side. She fed him and prayed over him at night. Sadi continued visiting the house often, still playing the loyal friend. She brought flowers, carried trays of food, and sat by Michael's bed as if nothing had changed. She held Tani's hand and said things like, "Sister, I told you he would be fine. God loves you both. I will never leave you." But Tani's eyes had begun to see beyond the smiles. She remembered the warnings of the guests, the doctor's words, and the little jealous remarks Sadi used to make. And she knew now that friendship could wear a mask as well as a smile. However, she decided not to confront her friend with anger, but with wisdom. If Sadi had planned a trap for her family, then it was only fair that she set a trap of her own. One afternoon, Tani invited Sadi over for tea. The sitting room was quiet. Michael was in his study reading while the children were at school. On the glass table were 2 cups of tea and a plate of biscuits. Sadi arrived smiling as usual. Sister, it's been long since we sat like this, just the two of us." Tani smiled back softly. "Yes, it has. Sit down, Sadi. Let's drink and talk." They sipped in silence for a while before Tani leaned back and said, "Sadi, do you ever think about that night, Michael's birthday?" Sadi's hands trembled slightly on her cup, but she covered it with a smile. "Of course, it was terrible, but thank God he survived. The cake must have been contaminated somehow, maybe the egg or flour." Tani tilted her head. Strange. The doctor said it wasn't an accident. He said it was deliberate. Someone wanted him dead." Sadi froze for a moment. Then she forced a laughter. "You know doctors like to exaggerate. Don't let them put fear in your heart, sister." Tani's eyes locked on hers. "Tell me, Sadi, if it wasn't an accident, who do you think it could be?" Sadi looked away quickly and sipped her tea to hide her nervousness. "How would I know? Enemies are everywhere." Tani nodded. "That is very true. And sometimes enemies sit closest to you and even bake birthday cake for you." Sadi's cup clattered against the saucer. "What are you saying, Tani?" Tani's eyes turned cold. "You poisoned the cake to kill my husband. You wanted him dead, you wicked witch." "What is this?" Sadi asked nervously and jumped to her feet in panic. "You cannot say that to me. I I am your sister, Tani. I have always been there for you. Tani pointed at her. You were my sister. You were the one person I trusted with my life, and you tried to kill my husband, the man who has never wronged you. Sadi's face twisted with bitterness. And why not? You had everything, Tani. The husband, the house, the love, the children, and me? I have nothing. I watched you take the life I deserved. Before Tani could answer, Michael walked into the room holding a small recorder in his hand. Sadi's eyes widened. You set me up. Tani folded her hands. I wanted to hear your words with my own ears, so I invited you here, and I asked simple questions. This recorder has caught everything you just said. Michael stepped forward. Sadi, if envy was fire, you would have burned down the whole world, but you will never burn this house. Sadi's legs weakened. She fell back into her chair and cried. I just wanted what you had, Tani. I wanted to be loved too. Tani shook her head slowly. And instead of building your own, you chose to destroy mine. Well, betrayal never wins. It only eats the one who carries it. The police arrived not long after, and Sadi was taken away. That evening at home, Tani sat beside Michael, holding his hand tightly. I am sorry for exposing our homes to enemies. I thought Sadi was a true sister. Michael shook his head. It's not your fault. She came as a sister but forgot that loyalty is sweeter than jealousy because it always burns the chest that possesses it. Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share your thoughts about the story with me in the comment section. What lesson did you learn from the story? Share the story out with your loved ones and give the story a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories. Thank you and remain blessed.